Yeah, for me, so I there was definitely some interesting uh moments, I guess, with the with this hybrid. So for me personally, the clear winner was
Okay folks, so this is my first ever collab with my guy Kent from his amazing channel Open Chord, where he reviews rackets and strings. And the idea today is that we're going to be taking a look at two hybrid string setups that Solinco conveniently packages up for folks like you and me. The idea is that I'm going to be taking a look at one string setup and Kent is going to have a video over on his channel that looks at the other one, but we've both played with both hybrid setups. The idea here is that you guys will get two very different perspectives on these hybrid setups. One from a guy like me who prefers very soft and trampoline setups, and one from a guy like Kent who prefers quite stiff and controlled setups. So I'm going to be talking about the TourBite and Vanquish setup, and Kent has a video on his channel about the Outlast and ProStacked setup. That video is linked down in the description below, so go check it out after you've seen this video.
Now, it's time for the next step. You must try fusing as Super Saiyans.
Right!
Go! Good. Your energies are aligned perfectly. Now perform the technique.
Fusion!
I'll let Kent go first to talk about how he felt about this hybrid, but before I do that, let me tell you how we ended up here to begin with. Now, I had the best time testing the OG Sheep Micro. That review is linked down in the description below if you're curious, but I couldn't get over just how good that old school synthetic gut performed for how comfortable it was. But polyester strings are popular for a reason. The reason is that they offer unmatched spin durability and control. So the natural question is, why not both? The thing is, I'm not the only one who's had this idea. The folks that make these poly strings are also privy to this too. So they've conveniently packaged up such combos for us to try. And my question is, why aren't there more reviews of this online? Alright Kent, take it away.
TourBite is one of my favorite strings of all time. I released the top 5 poly string video last year, and I think that was number 2 or 3 for me. So I love TourBite. And then Outlast also I tried for the first time last year, and I was really pleasantly surprised by that. Just how much spin and response it got for just a plain round poly and under $10 a set.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Completely agreed. Yeah.
So I loved TourBite. I love Outlast, but I've never tried them in a hybrid. So I was very interested. And also the synthetic guts. I've heard of Vanquish before, but I've never heard of ProStacked. So I was very interested with those two. For me personally, the clear winner was the Outlast ProStacked combination. And the reason for that is because I felt that because I put the poly in the mains, which is what I usually do when I hybrid, and the TourBite, because it's so sharp, it grips the crosses and it doesn't really snap and slide as much as I had hoped. So and I put them both in my Speed Pro, which has a 1820 pattern. So I saw myself launching a lot of aggressive shots past the baseline with the Vanquish and the TourBite, but the Outlast, I could see the ball actually coming in. I had a lot easier time controlling my aggressive strokes with the Outlast. But they both have really good touch and feel at the net, which is, I'm primarily a serve and volleyer. So they're both pretty much equal in that category, but in terms of swinging aggressively from the baseline, I definitely felt more comfortable with the Outlast ProStacked combination.
With this sort of a hybrid setup, there's really 4 things you need to think about, which are, how much spin can I realistically expect out of this? How long will the spin last? Is it actually durable? And is this setup really comfortable. Let me start off by saying that yes, this really is the best of both worlds. If you value the controlled low power response of TourBite, but you just happen to find it a bit too harsh, then this is a surefire way of taking that harshness down a notch. I strung up my Bolt 98 Lite V1 with TourBite in the mains and the Vanquish in the crosses, which is what Solinco recommends. Okay, so spin. I noticed more spin in my shots the moment I started hitting with this setup. The shocking thing is that the level of spin I got was almost the same as a full bed of TourBite. I mean, at the end of the day, this is not a full bed of poly and the racket doesn't swing itself, so spin generation is mostly on you. But what your expectation should be is that this kind of a setup will work with you and reward you for swinging the racket faster. I hit with a medium amount of topspin and I never found myself wanting more out of this, but the reality is that your own playing and swing style is going to determine how you feel about the spin performance here. The folks that I handed my racket to give it a go also thought that they got adequate spin, so I don't think I'm alone in feeling satisfied about the spin performance here. The spin performance lasts for a respectable amount of time, around 5 hours for me. I mean, I do wish it lasted longer, but the reality is I tend to cut my strings out around that time anyway, because something about polyester strings I find makes them go dead relatively quickly and start playing very harsh. What I found impressive about the spin performance is that it stayed at that same level as my first hit for that entire 5-hour duration. I think this is mostly down to the fact that the TourBite mains do slide relatively well against the multi-filament Vanquish crosses, and it's definitely not something I see when I play with a full bed of synthetic gut and or multi-filament for that matter. So in that sense, it kind of beat my expectations. But yeah, after 5 hours, the strings did really get stuck out of place. I mean, really get stuck out of place, so spin performance kind of took a nosedive after that. Durability was actually okay for me since I'm not a string breaker, but I feel that may not be the case for anyone else even remotely close to the string breaker camp. I mean, the reality is that TourBite is a very sharp string, and if you are in the string breaker camp, then the reality is that you value topspin more than anything else and hit viciously enough that the sharp mains would saw into those soft multi-filament crosses relatively quickly. But then again, would anyone like that even look or consider this setup? I'm not so sure. But for anyone else like me that plays with an all-court style with a medium amount of topspin, I think you're likely to be perfectly happy with the durability, especially for what you gain, which is comfort. And this finally brings me to comfort. I know, you're watching and you're wondering, is it comfortable, bro? And yeah, it's really comfortable. Hear me out. I know that TourBite is one of the stiffer, crisper strings out there, but when you pair it with the Vanquish like this, you take the bite out of TourBite, but in all the right ways. Most strings that are crisp tend to give really good feedback by way of vibrations that kind of go through the racket, through the handle, and into your arm. And that can get a bit harsh for some people, but by hybriding it like this, you take out all of the bad vibrations, leaving only the good ones behind. Also, I found that comfort and mushiness seem to go hand in hand, but that's definitely not the case here. Every trait you expect from TourBite is here, just taken down a notch. This hybrid actually fills a gap for me that soft polys never ever seem to. So the next time you go into your local tennis shop to ask for soft poly, give this a shot. I doubt that that soft poly will feel anywhere near as good as this does. Okay, so let's put this into context with the Outlast ProStacked combination. This was the far better playing combination, and this was interesting for the same reasons you said. I just thought this was probably what added the most value from hybriding, because like TourBite is just, it's so stiff. Like I fully understand why people use it. Like I can see that, but like hybriding it with the Vanquish like literally reduced all of the harshness I associate with TourBite. So like, you know, if you associate good vibrations with the string and bad vibrations, it cut out all of the bad ones. And only let the good ones through. But it also gave you a fair bit of touch response, especially at the net. It didn't take away too much from the spin for me. But like, I just thought for all those people that try and soften up their string bed with soft polys, I was like, it's kind of like, I think you get a lot more by doing something like this than you do by trying to go soft poly all the way. That's why I think this is the most value add, but this is the better play. I do think for a lot of kind of average Joes, like people like me who are like fit, athletic, but you know, we're idiotic enough to think more highly of ourselves than we generally should, you know, because we're not pro players. I think it's for people like us, because I can see myself using TourBite's potential, but I don't think my body is capable of handling that abuse day in, day out. For people, idiots like me, I think this is fantastic, you know?
Yeah. Have you ever tried either of those hybrid setups with the sin gut in the mains and the poly cross?
No, I always do poly in the cross. I feel like if I have the sin gut in the mains, it kind of muddies the poly a bit too much, and it kind of reduces the reason for having poly in your string bed to begin with. So I just prefer poly in the mains. Yeah.
That's true. Yeah. As far as I know, most people, when they use poly sin gut hybrid, they want the good qualities of the poly. They just want a softer setup. So it makes more sense to put the sin gut in the cross. Yeah. Also, I actually think in a tighter string pattern, like my speed, which is a 1820, I think the ProStacked in mains, Outlast in the cross might actually be okay. But, because the TourBite is also really sharp and hard, I think it'll snap the mains pretty fast if you put that one in the crosses. But I think the Outlast and ProStacked might work with the Outlast in the crosses, although I've never tried it. It's just I'm guessing it might just make it a little bit more powerful, I think, with the sin gut in the main. So I'm actually curious to maybe try that one day too.
Yeah, me too. I agree. I couldn't not make my mind up whether having Outlast in the mains was a good thing or a bad thing here. But I think this is such a well-rounded setup, and that can suit almost anyone, that like it doesn't matter. As long as you get the tension right for your setup and what you need to get out of the string, I think you'll get decent spin, you'll get decent power, you'll get decent control, and you'll get decent comfort. Like that's like a win-win-win-win scenario, right?
Yeah, definitely. Because it's interesting, because with my tighter patterns, I just want a little bit more power, which is why if I was to use a polyester and natural gut hybrid, I would always put the natural gut in the mains. And so that's why I think the Outlast ProStacked might work, not necessarily better, but I think it could be a pretty decent playability if you put the sin gut in the mains. Not so sure about the Vanquish and TourBite, just because I think the TourBite might snap the mains fast.
Yeah, that was the biggest thing. I could feel the durability implications here. I think for someone at my level who doesn't hit terribly hard, I think, I mean, I play at 3.5, 4.0 level. I think this is fine for me, but anyone who hits reasonably hard enough, like D3 level college players or anyone 5.5 and above, I think they might snap. Yeah, no problem. So.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I completely agree.
So yeah, as you heard, I like the Outlast ProStacked combination better as well. But if you're into TourBite and you just want to make it a bit less harsh, give this a try. I think you'll be very, very happy. Personally, as someone who plays at the 3.5, 4.0 level, I'm sold on hybrid setups. But here's a tweak that I'm thinking of making that could be a jumping point off for you if you find the idea of crossing TourBite with a multi-filament a bit uncomfortable from the durability standpoint. I would replace Vanquish with the OG Sheep Micro. That is just a fantastic synthetic gut that plays amazingly crisp, and you can make it play any you want if you just string it at the right tension. I myself will try that very soon, so let me know down in the comments below if you want a follow-up to this video. So, in summary, I think the demand for soft polys these days says a lot about what people are looking for from their string setups. And I think hybrid setups like these offer a nice middle ground that unfortunately gets ignored. So don't be that person. Try these out. I think you'll be very, very happy. Okay, big shout out to Kent for collaborating with me on this video. And yeah, go check his channel out. And I'll see you in the next one.